What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Sweat and Iron. I am Graham, your host, and in this episode, I sit down with Brent Potter, Regional Director for Anytime Fitness, and we discuss what it's like to run a gym, own a gym, and build an empire out of gyms. He has been everywhere, done anything when it comes to starting gyms, getting gyms going, and building the population and the equipment. So I sit down with him and talk about that. I talk to him about his fitness background, how he got started in fitness, and how he reaches out to the community. Because when you run a gym, that's the best way to connect with people, is to reach out to the community. So without further ado, enjoy the show. Raining outside.
Yeah, it's horrible out there.
Yeah, at first it's an ice storm last night, and now it's just freezing rain.
Yep. No, I already get the calls from the gym. Everyone's letting me know that their cars are sliding all over. So.
Oh, is it really that bad?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So then you got to send a message out to everybody saying, tomorrow morning.
No, we were closed. Let's see here. So I gave the team off one day this week and then 2 half days last week because of the weather already.
So you're like, I don't care what it's doing tomorrow. You guys are coming in.
That's it.
So we're just going to rock and roll here, if that's okay with you. Because I got it recording, so we're rolling. We got Brent Potter here. Brent Potter, the man, the legend. Brent is the regional director of Anytime Fitness. But when I met you, I don't even know what you were at Anytime Fitness. I knew that you were like in charge. I just didn't know what you did. You were just there. You were like in the office and you looked busy.
Yeah, I started with Anytime. I started off as a trainer. That lasted about 2 days. They promoted me to a fitness manager. I was a fitness manager probably about 6 months, and then became a club manager, then an area director, and that's when you and I met, when I was an area director.
That's right.
And then since then, I've moved up to regional director for corporate. And then I've got joint ownership now of 7 clubs I oversee.
Wow. So what is that? Okay. What does it mean to be a regional director? That means you're over a region. So what's your region?
Yep. My region is basically Midwest Illinois. And then I've also got a location out in Minnesota.
Wow, that's a stretch.
Yes.
And so you own 7 clubs. Wow.
Yep.
So Anytime Fitness is a corporation. Does that mean that it's franchised?
Yep.
Or okay, so then
about 99% of the clubs are franchised. So, and those are solely owned by franchise owners or groups of owners. And then so one of mine is 100% franchised, and then the other 6 are called joint venture, where the Anytime Fitness as a corporation has to have locations out there where they can test pilot stuff. So what they do is then they give you partial ownership for basically sweat equity, things like that, and then they own the rest. But then with that, they get to bring any idea they want to in your clubs, and you've got to make it work.
Oh, okay. So that's interesting. So you could have things in those gyms that you're just like, I don't know how this is gonna swing, but you got to swing it.
We've brought in some crazy stuff. I don't know if you remember, like iLipo, where they swore and freeze the fat off your body, Surf Set Fitness. I mean, you name it, and they bring it in and they say, all right, you've got to make it work. And of course it hits my P&L. So it affects my income. It affects the club's performance, everything.
Oh man. Oh, well. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's, them's the breaks, right? That's what you got to put up with.
That's right.
So for those of you who've never seen Brent Potter before, let me just describe him to you. He is a very tan-looking man. You must get in the sun a lot because you always tan whenever I see you.
I do
And
travel.
he is built very well. I must say, the first time I saw you, I was just like, wow, he's a beautiful man. And I like I said, I was kind of intimidated by you at first when I first saw you, but then you started talking. I was like, wow, he's actually a really nice guy. And then I found out that you were the area manager, and I was like, oh, well, that's pretty cool that he runs this place. Because at the time, I had just joined the gym, and I was I was really hoping that I made the right choice, and I feel like I did. And I said that in my previous episodes that I really like our location here in the area. This, even though it's small, I do like it compared to the other locations, just because you, I don't know. I feel like in larger gyms you lose that. I don't know how that, like you're connected to the gym somehow. I don't know how to describe it.
I get it. I was the regional director for Gold's Gym for almost 7 years, and I had 60,000 square foot facilities. And when I got to Anytime, I was like, "There's no way I'm working out in this club," because I was used to having every single amenity you could think of. And I'll never forget my first workout at Anytime. I was done in about, honestly, probably about an hour and 5 minutes, and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, man, typically you go to Gold's, you're walking through, you walk through the lobby, then to the locker room. You got 15 minutes in the locker room, then you come out, and it's just, I mean, my average workout was an hour and 45 minutes, minimal.
Hmm.
Then switching to this, and then I think it's just the relationships. I mean, even when you and I met, and then just watching the relationships you've had with like Matt and Becky and just the staff. I don't think you get that in big clubs unless you are one of the main lifters. And I think in our facilities you get that no matter who you are.
You guys do a good job of reaching out to the members. I gotta say. I mean, granted, when you enter the facility, our names pop up on the computer, but
Yep.
But it's the regulars though. It goes beyond seeing the computer. At some points, it's not even they don't even look at the computer. They just look right up and they're like, "Oh, hey, so and so, da da da." And you
Yep.
guys take the time to talk to us. If we stop in the office, we could bug you. We can go in the trainer office, bug them there. I mean, obviously, if they've got people they got to train, we get out of the way. But unless Matt was training, I always talk to him. But um, yeah, I mean, everybody's really nice, sociable, and makes everybody feel welcome, which really adds to that environment, the welcoming environment. So, Brent, I'm really interested in hearing your background in fitness. What got you into fitness? Because when it comes to everybody's fitness story, sometimes it's same as somebody else's. Sometimes it's a little bit different. How did you get started? What made you decide to get all
you,
fit?
I was the skinny kid growing up. Actually, I was the skinny kid through college. I was the skinny kid in my 20s. I was about 8 or 9 years ago. I probably weighed 160 pounds. Even though I was in the industry then, I'd never worked with a trainer. I was just always just skinny. But I didn't have much body fat on myself, but I had no muscle really either. But the being in the health club industry, I did runway modeling for a long time,
Hmm.
and I wanted the look that other people on the stage had. I did boxers and swimwear, things like that. So I wanted to be in shape, but realistically, I didn't get into ideal shape until honestly probably 8 or 9 years ago. I mean, since
Oh.
since then, I probably put on 60 pounds.
So you were doing runway stuff when you were just this skinny guy that were you the kind of guy that if you turned sideways, it would be like, where'd you go?
Oh yeah, I mean, and that's what they look for. I did a lot of tuxedo stuff like that. I mean, I think I was 26 when I was still doing high school tuxedo ads, and then I was like, all right, you start seeing some of these other guys, and you're like, all right, I need to change some things.
Yeah. Yeah. So 8 years ago. Okay. So how old are you now?
I'm 40 now.
You're 40 now. Okay. So I'm 34. So 8 years ago, you've been 32. Wow. You were 32 and you decided to start actually, was it lifting weights that you
I started
decided?
taking it serious. Like before then, I lifted, but I mean, I'm not joking. I was about 160, 168 pounds, and now I'm 220.
Yeah. You look like you'd be 220. I mean, you're huge.
I mean, not that. I mean, when I'm saying he's huge, I mean I think well. How tall are you?
6'2".
You're 6'2". Yeah, so you are just a little bit taller than me, but I mean, he's pretty well built, guys. And so I weigh in at about right now. I'm weighing in at about 205, 207, depending on whatever the scale decides to tell me on that day. But yeah, my goal is my dream goal is to weigh in at 195, but I don't ever think that's going to really happen.
Honestly, I'll tell you, if you would have seen, I mean, I was probably Matt's size. I was skinnier than Matt before I started. So if you remember when Matt first started, probably almost his same build when I started getting a little bit serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does it takes a little bit of dedication, but I honestly, it comes down to knowing what you're doing. My nutrition was off. Everything was off.
Yes.
And I think that was probably the biggest changes that I made was changing nutrition and then changing my workouts. I swear I copied Flex magazine workouts and muscular development every single day when I was younger. And of course, my body wasn't meant to try to do those things, and, 28 sets and stuff like that. So then finally, once I wised up and I figured some things out, I mean, that's when I started really seeing definition and size that I wanted.
Yeah, that's when I noticed a big change in my physique too, because Matt was my trainer and he did a really great job at teaching me how to do lifts properly, so I didn't hurt myself. And then so I figured, okay, I know the routine for the lifting, but I'm not really seeing any results in body fat going down. What am I doing wrong there? It was a combination of things. I had to figure out, okay, how do I keep my heart rate up? How do I improve my diet? And because I didn't understand calories totally, I didn't understand input and output, and until I educated myself correctly and connected the dots and lined up. I mean, yeah, I could probably get down to 195 if I really pushed myself, but I mean, I'm sort of cutting right now, but I'm not until. I'm probably going to really start cutting next week because right now there's just too many temptations around me to be like, I don't want to do it. But yeah, I know what you mean. You really got to get a routine, right? You got to get the routine, and finding that routine is really finding out what works. And what I hear a lot of is it's a combination of routine in the gym and routine in nutrition.
Right. Correct.
Because once you start screwing around with nutrition and you're like, oh, I'll substitute this out for this, the way you'll see results is really when you sort of stick to the same things as far as eating. And if you get tired of eating the same thing, maybe switch up I've said in other episodes before, switch up the toppings. If you're tired of having chicken, change up what you add to the chicken or the pork or the beef or whatever.
Yeah, I cook mine in bulk, typically every 3 days, so it doesn't get old. But
yeah.
I don't season my stuff anymore when I cook it, unless I'm doing like a good marinade. Other than that, I like to season it as I'm going because there's so many different seasonings you can buy and throw on there that even if you're doing chicken, you can make it taste different every single time. And that was kind of my trick.
So you cook it in bulk and then you put it in its own dishes, and then inside each dish you just kind of sprinkle the seasoning on?
Yeah, all different types, whatever I can find.
Ah, nice. So you on Facebook, it says you're not from the area. You're actually from New York.
Correct. Yep. I grew up New York. Went to school for fashion design and marketing in Wisconsin. And then I think I started with, let's see here. I started with a travel team that did health club membership sales. And when I was done with all the other stuff, and I ended up at a world gym in North Carolina. And that's kind of where my gym career started.
So you started working it was called World Gym?
World Gym with the big gorilla. Yep. They're very old school.
So what did you start doing with them?
I originally started off doing some membership sales with them, and then I became their club manager very quickly shortly after.
Oh. Have you ever, in the time that you've been involved with gyms, have you ever dabbled in the supplement area?
Yes.
You have. What have you done?
Just what do you mean? Those regular supplements?
Everything. Well, like I mean, have you sold them? Have you?
We've carried them at most locations. We even tried them at any time. I think so. Before it was very easy to sell. You couldn't find it everywhere. With internet pricing, it's impossible now. I mean, I deal right now. I've got an exclusive with Europa if I want to bring in supplements through Anytime Fitness,
Uh-huh.
but the margins are so minimal
Mhm.
that your shelf life, if you don't sell, I mean, I can't go out and order what a GNC would and not worry about it. If I order 4, 5, 6 at max, that's about what I'm going to get, because if I order cases of the stuff to get even lower prices, we'll never sell out of it.
It'll go to
That's
waste.
my yeah, that's my biggest issue. And you can't compete with some of those great websites online that are now doing 2 and 3 day shipping at this low price.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most competitive markets there is, unless you have an exclusive where you're an ambassador for a company, or like MTS or something like that, where they specifically try to go through athletes or affiliates.
Hmm.
Anything you can get big label, you won't beat any of the prices you find online. So it just doesn't work for you anymore.
So that's why when I first started joining Anytime Fitness, you guys had the supplements kind of,
Yep.
you had them on that shelf, but then they just disappeared all of a sudden, and it was because of that.
Yeah, it's just it's hard to, because I mean, typically if you run a nutrition store or something like that, your supplement margins are 50 to 60%, and that's at if you sell it at retail. Then everyone's looking for a discount off that. When you're in the club situation,
Hmm.
our margins probably, I mean, we're probably paying 70% of costs, so we got about a 30% margin, and that's not including, your credit card fees, your loss that you'd take from theft, expirations. So after a while, it just becomes a headache, and it's just too much.
It's not worth it.
No.
All right, so you're at World Gym. I kind of like fast forwarded there. I kind of
Sure. Okay.
so you're at World Gym. What made you decide to actually start working in a gym?
I've always been good at sales, and at the time, like I was skinny but ripped, so I had to look like I was in really good shape. And when I went out there actually for a marketing group that would go around and rescue gyms by doing tons of promotions. We'd show up and we'd guarantee that we would get you, on average, probably 200 members over the next 8 weeks. And then we traveled to another club and helped rescue them. I got to this club. I loved the manager. I loved the owner. I loved the
Hmm.
staff, and I ended up staying.
Yeah.
But my key was I've always been able to relate and talk to people. So I think that's you can the people that have success in our industry are the ones that are able to build relationships.
Hmm.
I've had some of the smartest trainers work for me that had no personality and couldn't hold the conversation, that were the biggest failures that we've had. And then I've had other people who didn't look the part but could build that relationship where everyone wanted to work with them.
Yeah, that's actually a very good point there. I mean, there's been some trainers that have come in, and well, there's one in particular that comes to mind. I'm not going to say names, but there was one in particular I do remember who was around for maybe 6 months, maybe less,
Uh-huh.
and he's not there anymore. But he looked great, but I don't know, sociably he just I felt like he didn't. People that I met at the gym who had him for a trainer, I just felt like he didn't connect very well, and he didn't stick around very long. And I can kind of tell why now after talking to you about, after what you
Yeah.
just said. It totally makes sense. You can either do it or you can't.
I
And
think, well, I think it's, I mean, you got to think when you go in for training, you're not only going in for exercise advice, you're going there to vent about your day, but then that person has to have the power to be able to take your mind off the workout. And you right now, you go to the gym, you love to work out. The average person, when they first start, they can't stand it. They can't even stand being in there. They are counting minutes in their head. Like, I mean, I've seen people on the treadmill going, all right, I got 15 minutes on this treadmill. That's 5 sets of 3 minutes. And then they start trying to break it down just to justify, to speed it up and get it out of there. So now when you're working with a trainer, you're doing stuff you're so uncomfortable doing. You feel awkward. There's movements you've never done before. And this person's his job is not only to coach you through the exercise and make sure you don't get injured, but also keep you motivated, and also be that shoulder that you can vent everything in the world to without without judging you, without, and hold that conversation back to take your mind off it.
Yeah, that's good because it's hard for me to recall sometimes how I felt when I first joined the gym, but what you just said is pretty much, if I recall, that is how I felt, because right now it's like you said, I love to go there. I love to get that feeling. I love the endorphins. I love working off the stress, but recalling to the days when I actually signed up for the training, had to be there with Matt. That was it. I had to be there because I paid for it. So I was like, oh, I got to go today. At first, I was like, oh, I gotta go there. And then after a while, it was like, oh, I gotta talk to Matt. And then, what kept me coming though was being with Matt though, because Matt had this magnet of a personality. I don't know. I was like drawn to him, and it still sticks to this day because I've stayed in touch. Well, I mean, we all stay in touch with Matt. I mean, we're all jealous of him too because he's able to just drop everything and decide to get a pickup truck and go out to the middle of nowhere and go cave diving and stuff like that. But all right. So you decided, I'm going to take this marketing job and take it into the gym world, and then you got attached to the gym you were at because of the people you liked, the environment. Where did you go from there?
So there I had one of my buddies who he was kind of that kid that had an Arnold physique at age 21, just a genetic freak. He and I had met in college. He calls me and he says, "Hey, I'm running a Gold's Gym out in Nevada. You should come out. It's a great partnership group. They're planning on opening 10 to 12 of these. It'll be a great opportunity for you." I saw the money in it, so honestly, I gave my notice. I packed up. I left. I got out to Nevada, and first time working at a gym that had basketball courts and everything, and it was massive. But I opened the club in Reno, Nevada. Then I opened one in Sparks, Nevada, and then they offered me a regional position in Virginia. So I went and I opened 5 of them for them in Virginia.
Wow, man, you've been all over.
Yes. Yep. That lifestyle is tough for a lot of people. You can't, I mean, especially you're talking almost 15 years ago where you don't have internet, you had internet, but it wasn't like you had friends, you had all this other stuff. It was, you knew a couple people. I had short-term relationships. We'll just say that. I'd be in an area for a year to a year and a half. Then you move on and you're less important than any of the people that you were, in that area, and you move on and you start a whole nother set of relationships and you just keep doing it.
It sounds like the job where you really couldn't really get attached for too long and you had to be ready to drop it in order to move on to the next promotion.
Yep. That's what it was.
And, you hear about these jobs and you think to yourself, I don't know if I could ever do that, but clearly you were able to do it. I mean, you had the mentality to, because you wanted to succeed in what you're doing. You wanted to make the money and you wanted to build a career for yourself.
Correct. Yep. And I ended up falling. I mean, that's when I started I think when you find out that you're really good at something, and I think mine was always the relationships that I could build with members, with clients, with people in towns. That's what I loved. And I loved traveling at the time. I loved seeing new things. And when I left Virginia, I opened my final Gold's Gym in Wisconsin. And that's when I hit my limit. I was like, all right, now I want to just kind of settle down, meet some people, find a relationship that I can, say this is it. And when I left, I accepted a job in Chicago, and that was at Export Fitness, and that was my last job before Anytime.
Where in Wisconsin was that?
Menasha, Wisconsin was the last Golds.
Now, there's a lot of these little towns in Wisconsin that you hear and you're just like, where's that in Wisconsin? So if you're looking at the map, whereabouts is that?
That's right near Appleton.
Okay. All right. Appleton. All right. So that was the last Gold's Gym location you went to, and then
Export Fitness in Chicago.
Export Fitness in Chicago, which then brought you to Illinois. And then how long were you at Export before you?
Export was almost 2.5 years. Export is big box also, but they're big money. Their clubs are 8 to 15,000 member clubs. They know what they're doing. That's probably the one where I learned most of the sales techniques that I didn't know before, and was able to start creating my own systems from some of the stuff I learned there.
Mm-hmm.
I had met my son's mom there. She worked for me. We ended up having a child, and then with that, just the stresses of there, you work 12-hour days, Monday through Friday, and you still work on Saturdays. So it was too much to have a newborn on the way. So we ended up moving to Freeport, and that's when I'd left the gym business. So
was that in the city or the burbs?
I was actually right in Chicago. Yep, I was right on the Gold Coast. My club was.
Oh wow! So what area of the city did you live in? You know how they've got broken up.
So I lived right off of North Ave. If you're familiar with where the water is, it's right there. It's basically a quick train ride to downtown Chicago.
Wow. Pretty cool to say that you lived there, but it's definitely I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to, and you just highlighted why. I mean, unless unless you can make it work with a kid, it's really, I mean, that's easy for me to say that. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of other people that live in that area that make it work somehow, but I don't want to have to deal with the trains. I don't have to deal with traffic. I don't want to have to deal with winter.
Right. I mean,
in the city.
I can tell you parking and driving is bad enough that I had 2 vehicles and I still took the tram every single day because I didn't want to either pay to park everywhere or even try to get stuck in traffic for an hour.
Yeah, my brother-in-law lived with his wife in the city for quite a while, and he would tell me these stories about people would make their own parking signs and and put them up on trees and it'd be like, do not park here, reserved parking.
Yep.
And if you took somebody's parking spot, you might have come out to quite a surprise the next morning.
My condo had, even though I paid for my own parking spot, that actually your parking spot opened up after 9 a.m. For the businesses that were below you. So I had to go out every morning if I didn't work and move my vehicle to the street, even though I had rented that parking spot every night. It was crazy.
Yeah, parking down there is crazy. Yeah, if anything, it would be parking that would be the main reason I wouldn't want to drive. There's no point in owning a car when you live in the city at some point. I mean, If you do, it should be just one car, and then you could be like, let's find a garage. But then you're paying, out the nose for the garage. So, all right. So you leave, you go to Freeport, and for anybody who knows where Freeport is way on the west end of Illinois, there on the other side of Rockford, in the middle of nowhere practically. Why Freeport?
Her parents were from there, so it was really nice to have some local family. Mine still lived in New York, so that was the closest thing that worked.
Just about everybody that lives in Freeport has a pickup truck.
That's right.
And there's a reason for it. It's because nobody plows Route 2. So you need that 4-wheel drive out there. So you moved out to Freeport, and is it at this point that you had already lined up a job with Anytime?
No, actually, so I applied at some of the local competitors that I've got now. They told me I was overqualified, and honestly, our biggest competitor. They actually said, "Well, you're probably going to try to take my job, so I'm not going to interview you," which was hilarious. And I ended up working at Family Video as a manager, and it was definitely not in my normal interest or what I normally like to do. And then I got to the point where I was just like, you know what, I'm going to just train part-time around my schedule. So I went out to Anytime Fitness. They were hiring part-time trainers, and I was like, look, I'll just take a couple hours here and there. And they offered me the job after meeting with me, and it was within the first week. I had done a couple of fitness consultations, and I closed every single one of them from what I'd learned in the past. And the manager at the time said, our normal fitness manager is on vacation. When he comes back, we want you to tell him he no longer has a position as a manager. He's going to be a trainer here, and he's going to work for you. We're going to make you the fitness manager. Right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was definitely an awkward situation, but I accepted it. It was getting me back in my realm, and I loved it.
Wow. So you were the fitness manager at which location?
The Loves Park location, actually, and Matt Haft was actually my first trainer there too.
Oh, man, yeah. Looking back at him, oh my gosh! Before he decided to grow a beard, he looked like he was maybe 15 years old.
Every day, yep,
Every
yep.
day, every day. That kid. So you were at the how long were you the fitness manager for?
It wasn't long. I mean, it was well that he actually it was maybe 6 7 months there, and then I got promoted to Roscoe and kind of helped with both locations, and then shortly thereafter became a club manager in our Whitewater location.
Uh-huh.
And then it was not much after that they decided to really grow our PT department because I'd known the most. They said, "Hey, we want you to be our area PT director."
Mm-hmm.
And then by that time, I had 8 locations I was overseeing for personal training.
Wow. Wow, you got fast tracked there. And
Yes,
a
yes,
lot of that though has to do with your roots, where you started and how you just I don't know, I mean you built the empire for golds in a way, and then you took that experience and helped build the personal training in any time.
correct. Yeah, and Anytime wasn't known for training at all at the time. They're still your average Anytime right now does around $4,000 a month in personal training, as opposed to our clubs do anywhere from 15 to 20,000. So
Wow.
there's still Anytimes that are learning the business and understanding the systems, but with a lot of the tools that not only myself but a lot of the people that you have met, we created a lot of systems that Anytime Fitness as a company rolls out to new franchise owners. So it's been great.
So if somebody wants to be a personal trainer, I already did an episode. Well, I don't know if you heard the episode with Matt, but I interviewed him about what it takes to be a personal trainer, what you should be on the lookout for. But since you have been the director for personal training and you've done all the things you have, what's the one thing you look for? I mean, we kind of covered it, but if somebody wanted to be a personal trainer at Anytime Fitness, would you just how would you what would you say to them? What would you say to them that you would definitely want them to be?
You have to be able to hold a conversation. And if you come in, we used to have this saying: If I want to have a beer with you, I'll probably offer you a job." And it's not really like, "Hey, if we go have a beer, I'm going to offer you a job." But if I can sit there and have a full conversation with that person, I can understand who they are. I can understand that they care about about me, and you can start seeing that, hey, this person has got it or this person doesn't. A lot of the educational piece you can teach. Most trainers that come to me that have a certification,
Mhm.
they know the book. They don't know anything about movement on the floor. They don't know anything about, honestly, about systems, about processes, about any of that stuff. That's all stuff I can teach. I can't teach personality.
So you got to have the personality. You got to be sociable and not awkward sociable. You got to be able to get the person to talk. You got to be able to listen. You got to have the conversation, but at the same time, you got to know when to stop talking and get back into the personal training. But then,
I, I, and you
you
have to
know,
care. And you'll notice that about the people that you've met at all of our clubs. I mean, you even said it yourself. You still have a relationship with your former trainer. That's very rare. If you worked with a lot of trainers, and I'm just saying, not only with Anytime, but with a lot of other systems, you'll notice when someone's in a service industry, they're your friends because you pay them.
that
It,
was my first thought when I was there. I initially thought that everybody was friendly because I was paying, but
exactly.
it wasn't until I actually asked Matt. I was like, "So you want to hang out sometime?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure. Here's my number." I was like, "Oh, wow, you actually said yeah. Okay, okay.
Well,
Here we go."
we when you work with someone more, I mean, you were meeting multiple times per week, and you start to build this actual caring relationship, and that's what you look for with individuals that you're bringing on staff. If they're only about themselves, you can see it right away. If they're only about a paycheck, you can see it right away. If they're the type of person that walks into your club and they don't have a client show up and they're like, "Well, I'm not putting away the weights, the gym's a mess, I'll just go home, or I'll work out, I'll focus on myself," you
Hmm.
see that person too. And those are the type of people you do not want to work for you.
Now, how about people who? What does it take? What does it take to own a franchise in Anytime Fitness?
A lot of money.
A lot of money?
It's
You got to be like ready to pay.
Anytime Fitness is a great brand because they come with all the systems. They have everything out there. But there's a big difference between that and opening my own club. If I wanted to open Brent's Fitness, I could do it in 1/10 of the cost. Actually, probably a minimum 1/5 of the cost, and have it twice the size of gym that I have right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you're buying into the brand, you're buying into the systems, you're buying into reciprocity across the world. There's a lot of those things that that most people don't understand with Anytime Fitness. A gym industry is a lot different than people think. Someone always walks in and like, yeah, I want to work at a gym because I get to work out whenever I want to. I get to do this. It's nothing like that.
I mean, so what is it like then? I mean, if because quite honestly, that is the misconception. A lot of people think that. They think, oh, you work in the gym, that means that you can work out whenever you want. You go in there, you see your trainers, occasionally they're working out, but it's usually not when they're working. It's usually right before they start working or something like that.
Yep. And I mean, even my club managers, people come in and they say, I'd like to apply for a club manager position. And they think that a club manager is someone that watches over the building. They sign some people up most of the time. And other than that, they get to work out. They get to do whatever they want. But my club managers are probably some of the best telemarketers I've ever met. I mean, I would say 60% of their day is on the phones, making phone calls, sending emails, replying to texts, collecting bills, things like that, which when you think about it, it's not the most fun thing to do. And it's not usually what you think about it being at a gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that'd be like, I call you guys up. I say, hey, I'm interested in joining. When can I come in? You're like all over that phone call.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And trying to get you in. And I remember that when I called, because Becky took the call, and she was just like, I didn't get the time that I wanted, but I still was able. She made it swing just fine. But yeah, I think actually, if I recall, I think I took a PTO day just so I can go to the gym. It was really funny because I was just like, yeah, you know what? I think I could take a day off from work. I'll go to the gym. And then that's when I met Matt, and I was like, Matt, what sort of stuff do I need to work out? I can't remember.
There you go. Yeah.
I remember his face. He's like, well, you're going to want to get these kinds of shoes. And I was like, well, what do you think about these socks? And then we started talking about, it was a very awkward, funny conversation because he's like, am I really having this conversation with somebody about socks? And I was like, yes, you are.
Yeah, I would say, stuff like that. But then being the owner, it's more of worrying about, covering your base operating expenses. It's a lot more than what people think, because it doesn't come down to just rent and utilities. You've got credit card fees, you've got software license fees. I've got building insurance for the employees, taxes,
the bathrooms,
repairs. I have cleaning staff. I mean, most of my clubs have a minimum of 6 employees. There's a lot more to it than what people really think, as opposed to having a studio in a warehouse or something like that, especially being in retail space. Retail space is ridiculous cost for rent.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to the retail space, how does that work with the landlord? Is a lot of it on you?
A majority of it is.
Yep. Majority of it is?
Yep. Unless it's exterior of the building, almost anything interior, HVAC systems, all of that, that's all on us. Plumbing, anything like that, it's all on us.
Okay. Now, I maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear you are invested in the community somehow. I know that you are all about the community.
Yes.
What are some things that you've done for the community recently?
I try to participate in almost anything community based. I will tell you, when I first got into this, especially with Anytime, I strayed away from it, and not really understanding that this is your reputation, not only as someone who's in business, but also I have people that are in their late 20s, early 30s that work for me, they come to me not only for financial advice and home advice, but the piece that I was missing is the helping out in community. and just shaping them and shaping what they do by understanding they see me out in the community, they start doing it too. We've done everything with Pink Heels. We've done everything with Beneath the Beard. We donate as much time as possible. I take the employees down to the soup kitchen to serve, just little things like that, where they understand that these are the things that when you give back, this is kind of what shapes you as a character.
Wow, that's amazing. So what do you think is in the future for the locations that you run right now? What any plans?
Actually, your location that you love so much, it is getting relocated right out to the front strip center there. I'm expanding it, so that's going to be this year. It's a big build out, but it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful club. And I just took over a location in Minnesota that was struggling in a couple of areas, and my other goal this year is to turn that one around.
So, so the location that we're in now on 173 there.
Yep.
Where is it going exactly? It's.
Do you remember where the mattress place was, right out in front of where Bed Bath and Beyond is?
Yeah.
I got that spot. I'm negotiating right now terms of lease right now.
Oh wow. Okay. So you have a time period in mind as far as like?
It'll be done by the end of the year.
I'm
stuck in the lease that where we're at right now, which it was unfortunate circumstance to sign a 10-year lease, and the location it's an okay size, but you've seen it. I've got 1,500 square feet tied up in tile and offices and things like that, where it's just not gym utilized. And I don't have much of a free weight area there so the new location is going to give me a full build out, massive free weight area, full turf area, everything that I want, and everything McChesney Park needs.
Now, if anybody's listening who is a current member there, Brent, are we going to have more than one squat rack?
You actually see, so that's the nice thing. You not only have the Smith machine, but you get the triple set squat rack. So it's going to be a lot like the way Loves Park is, except less offices and more training space.
Oh, I love you. I like it. I could see it already.
Yeah, trust me, it was hard negotiating the terms, but it's one thing where you look at, unfortunately, with McChesney Park, and it is a trainer's gym, but other than that, when you walk in, there's not much that draws you to it because of the size, because everyone's like, well, and the layout with the cross beams in the middle, I can't do much with the layout. So what I tried to find was a big square box that I could build it out the way I wanted to, and I got the location. I'm just now negotiating with the landlord, trying to get out of the lease that I'm in, which he's willing to work with me on, and into this new spot as soon as possible.
Very, very nice. Very nice. So here's a question from some people on Facebook in a fitness group that I belong to. I told them I was interviewing you, and I was just looking for additional questions. And since you're a regional director and have been involved in gyms for so long, let's see. Was there a career change to doing this from something else? No, we already answered that one. Let's see. Okay, here's a great one. All right. What are the best and worst parts of your job?
I would probably say the best part is a story like yourself. When if you think about when you first joined, it wasn't. There's no way you would have pictured that you would even be doing what you're doing today. I mean, there's not a chance. But when you see someone not only see the physical changes, but the mental changes, and then they fall in love with fitness where they can't see themselves going weeks without doing it. That's the best. That's probably one of the things I enjoy most, besides creating careers for my employees. I mean, that's what I go home and I feel really good about what I do there. I'd probably say the worst part is losing a good trainer. Even when they find another career that fits them better and understanding it's still part-time and things like that, I have such a connection with my staff that it's always tough on me when I lose someone really good. that it's just like, man, they I don't think they understand how big of a piece they are to a company. Uh, when they're there, and I try to tell them as much as I possibly can, but those are definitely some of the hardest, probably the most challenging things, because not only are you losing them, but they're also losing people that they have relationships with, or people that come to our clubs that's the reason they came to the club. Like you said, you came to the club because of Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And when you lose, like even when I lost Matt, I adore Matt. I talked to him today. It's one of those things where he's so valuable that you not only as an employee, but as a friend and as someone that you can joke around with every single day. When you lose that type of person, then the
Mm-hmm.
clients lose that. I mean, it's hard for a client to trust someone the way that they trusted someone that they worked with for the last year and a half.
It's also very hard to find a personal trainer that you
Yeah.
you can actually make fun of.
Well, not only that, but they all have their different personalities, and that is it. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. So that actually brings up another good question. You lose a trainer. How do you replace that trainer, as far as, okay, you've got clients then who had that trainer. How do you reassign those clients to a different trainer? Is it just anybody, or?
Now, so typically the goal is, and inside the business, this is what you typically look for. You want your clients to have long-term packages, because if you would have had one or two sessions left, and we go and we say, hey, we've got this great trainer to work with you.
Mhm.
Typically, the first session's free on me. I pay for that, them to get used to each other. But if they only have one or two other sessions, they go, I'm done. Yet if they have 2 months left, 3 months left, those are the best case scenarios, because if they meet with a trainer, and yes, everyone's going to have a different personality, but you'll always learn something new from a different person. There
Okay.
might be a different rhythm, there might be a different workout, there might be just some different thing, and you're going to be blown away and be like, man, I didn't do this before. And I've had so many cases where they were like, my trainer that I had before you was the best trainer ever.
Mhm.
4 months down the road, they're calling me, they're saying, my new trainer is so much better than the trainer before, because they do this, this, and this. And then the next trainer, they'll say, oh, this trainer is even better than that one. And it's not that they're better trainers, it's just that they're learning more stuff, so they're adapting, and they're like, wow, I learned more this time than I did the time before.
Yeah, it's like getting a fresh pair of eyes on an idea.
Exactly.
All right. So next question. Now this is an interesting one. Where's the most money made when running a gym? Products, personal training, memberships, where?
So typically when you're running a gym, your membership remit, which is what your monthly dues are, is where you're going to profit the most. Even though you have your base operating expenses coming out of that, it's a set amount that you figure out every single month of what your BOE is, and you're like, all right, this is what I'm paying out every single month. This is what my membership remit is. This is my percentage. When you look at something like training has an overhead that's different than an operating expense, because you're paying 50 to 60%, sometimes even more, to a combined of not only paying the trainer, software fees, little things like that, where that continually add up to your percentages. Like if I have a club that I sell 20 grand in personal training at, my
Mm-hmm.
margins are honestly about 75%. So I'm only taking about 25% of that in.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you have a set base operating expense of, let's say something like McChesney Park is about $13,000 to $14,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
If I have $24,000 remit, I've got a $10,000 difference right there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
and supplements, clothing, those are all minimal things.
Right. Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about the supplements earlier, how that can be more of a loss than a gain.
Yep.
Yeah, and clothing is really hit or miss. All right. So that's good. That's good things to know. Now this one, I'm just going to ask it. You can answer it if you want. If you want to skip it, that's fine. They want to know your most unusual experience at the gym, whether it's a client, a trainer, or just you showing up and seeing something bizarre in the parking lot.
I have two that come to mind. I had a gentleman in one of my Anytime Fitness locations who came in that was working out at 2:30 in the morning, was running on the treadmill, and of course we have cameras everywhere. So
Yeah.
once this complaint came to me, I had to check the cameras. was running on the treadmill, and their shorts kept sliding down. He ended up dropping trowel, butt ass naked with just a shirt on, onto the treadmill, took his pants off, got right back on, and continued running like nothing was going on.
That's gross and funny at the same time.
Ended up getting a complaint call and had to check the cameras, and we had to make a call to terminate this person's membership. That would be one. And then I'd probably say the most common that I get now, especially at your favorite gym, we have a bar that's right next door that people love to get drunk in and then come over at 2:30 in the morning, swipe their key fob, and have sex in the tanning room or also in the showers in the gym.
Oh, it's a good thing I don't use that tanning room. All right, well, that's interesting. All right, let's see. Has there ever been a time, which I'm pretty sure this is going to be a yes, but maybe you can give a great example, a time that you reached out to Anytime Fitness and said, hey, I think you need to do this, and it'll bring more money in, or something
that's kind of my job right now. So being a part of corporate, like I said, they will come up with an idea, and they'll say, all right, we have an idea. We're going to bring in this $12,000 body scale into your club. You need to figure out a way to monetize it.
That's the part of the franchise business where you said that they bring the stuff in and you have to figure out how to use it.
Yep.
And then you give the feedback.
Correct. And then my job is to write the systems, to figure out a way to monetize it if it's possible, to figure out a way that why it would be used, how it'll be used. And I've had so many successes, but I've had just as many fails. And I definitely tell you, there's been challenge. I mean, they came to me one day and said, I don't know if you remember, but Matt used to be a fitness manager. They said, we want you to eliminate the fitness manager position and teach all trainers how to sell. And I was like, oh my gosh, you've got to be kidding me. But it was something as being part of corporate that I had to do.
Uh-huh.
And then you have to create a way where you take people that aren't comfortable with sales and try to figure out a way to make sales easy. Little things like that and then that's how Anytime Fitness will create a system, then take that system and they push that onto other franchise owners that would be in the same boat.
I see. All right. How about things that you love and hate about the fitness industry?
I would probably say the only thing that I don't like is I think too many people sell themselves short, or they don't think something's accomplishable. I've had a lot of people that say, you know what, I've pulled up to your gym multiple times and I've never walked in.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally they come in and, I think people, they watch television shows like Biggest Loser, or they see a success story and they're like, they see themselves losing 20 or 30 pounds in 6 weeks. And it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. And then they get frustrated and they quit. I think that's the one thing that people have too many doubts of themselves, but then they also don't know what realistic results are. Realistic result is losing 30 pounds in a year. You should be happy with that, but they don't look at that and say that that's a great change. And it baffles me.
Are those New Year's resolutions, or does that happen just throughout the year?
All year long. Every year honestly, every day someone wakes up, they look at themselves in the mirror, they go, I don't like this. I'm going to start this. And then when they get to a club, they're expecting, they work out hard for 2 weeks and they look in the mirror and they're like, I don't see any changes. This mm-hmm. isn't working. And then they mm-hmm. try something else where they're like, well, now I'm going to starve myself, or now I'm going to do the hot dog diet, or whatever it is.
Oh my God. They follow the fads.
Because they're we are looking for quick results. They
want that magic bullet.
No, I mean, it's the way that the society is. I mean, everyone wants an immediate response, immediate answer, immediate result. Otherwise, it's not worth it. And they don't understand that it takes so much time to figure this out.
Well, we are the fast food nation. I mean, we got the drive-throughs. We might as well have fast shortcuts in the gym too for fitness, right?
That's what they try to find, but it's not that they're never going to find it.
Nope. All right. So do you have a sister, a mom, or a daughter that you ever talked to about fitness? If you have talked to them about fitness, I kind of relate to this because it's really hard sometimes for me to talk to my mom about fitness. It was really hard
Sure.
to talk to my sister about fitness. My sister actually joined our gym here at 173 because she just finally decided she has this big personal goal that she needed. And she finally reached out to me and I said, the only way you're going to get to where you need to be is if you go to the gym and you set yourself some goals and try to meet those goals over time. Now, have you ever had to have a conversation like that with someone close to you?
Yeah. My mom was probably one of the one that sticks out. My mom, I went when I went back to New York, I visited my mom once, and she took me to the gym that she had been a member of, and I trained her once, and she loved it. And then she stopped going to the gym because all the movements that I did were functional body movements with her. So then she tried doing it at home, ended up giving up almost right away, and then never went back to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
But then she's also the type of person that she struggles, with her image. She always mentions every time she sees me, she's like, "Oh, just to let you know, I've been overeating, or I don't look like this." And it's tough to understand. She sees me in this industry and she thinks everybody's got to be in shape.
Yeah. Yeah. Or instantly in shape, one or the
Yep.
other. And reality is, sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes a year, sometimes it takes 2 to 3 years before you actually finally reach that 90%, 90% towards your goal.
Right. Definitely.
All right, we got 2 more questions left. Second to last question is they're both ridiculous questions, but they're fun questions. So, for this podcast, my podcast uses explicit language, so you can swear if you want. But she says, do you ever have problems with people parking like assholes in the parking lot? If so, what do you do about it?
I would probably say not really assholes. I think the funniest ones are the people that are in the best shape. Typically take the front spots or the spots closest to the club.
Uh-huh.
And then they make all the seniors park way in the back, which I find that's absolutely hilarious. But no, typically with ours, we've had a couple people that people put trash on their cars or next to their cars if they've parked like that, but never really an issue at our clubs.
Oh, okay. The very last question is, does pineapple belong on pizza?
Always.
Oh,
sorry. I do the pineapple, Canadian bacon, and jalapenos. So.
Oh. Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, she was hoping that you would say yes, and I always put, whenever possible, I put pineapple on my pizza. But I don't do the jalapenos though. But I might consider it. I don't know. The older I get, the more I find myself trying new things. Yeah, I used to be like I was a creature of habit. It was really hard for me, and that's one of the reasons why nutrition was so hard for me, is because I stuck to foods that I loved that made me feel good, and it was hard for me to branch out to what I considered bland foods. It wasn't until I realized, I could always change it up with spices and whatnot. You just got to broaden your horizons.
Definitely.
Branch out.
Try the jalapenos. I'll tell you, it takes some of the sweetness off, and it makes it a hell of a lot better.
Try the jalapenos. So Brent, that's all I got for this interview. This has been so informative, and I really hope that the information that I gathered from you helps somebody out there to better understand what it takes to run a gym, to be involved in a gym, to how to even apply towards working at a gym and what a gym might be looking for. So I really, and just talking about your fitness background and how you got into it and everything, it's really nice to get to know you.
Yeah, definitely a pleasure.
So everybody out there, thanks for stopping by, and you keep setting your goals and you keep at it.